with their characteristics. Now, here's where I want to bring some attention. If I look at, okay, let me tell you. In my book, I went right here and I drew a line just like I drew a line right here. Here's what we know. Typically, muscle fibers don't cross the line. Okay? Typically, muscle fibers don't cross the line. But what we do know is the way we build a training program for our athletes, we can make those muscle fibers migrate more to one side depending on the training protocol, because your body will respond to whatever you ask it to. So for example, let's say Roxana's high jump career was over. We don't want that, but let's just say. And she's moving on at a portion in her life, and she says, you know, I kind of have this bucket list thing I want to do, and I want to run a marathon. So what Roxana is going to have to do is she is going to have to take these explosive fibers and train them in a more aerobic form. So what's going to happen is, and we've seen this under the microscope, we've seen people through a muscle biopsy. Y'all know how to do a muscle biopsy? Okay? You take like a pretty big gauge needle, job it in your quad, they pull it out, they look at it under the microscope. It's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to be in a study in April where I get to be in a muscle biopsy situation. I'm excited. Okay, so we look at the explosive nature of Roxana's fiber types, and we can see that hers, now listen, go back to your, now look. If Roxana is a high jumper, check this out. She has high, large motor recruitment. They have a high threshold. They have a fast velocity. Why would they need a fast velocity? Does she get over the bar slowly or quickly? Quickly, high velocity, okay? High contraction rate, fast relaxation. Hers are great at going wham, wham. They're just incredibly efficient at doing that. Let's go back and let's look. You guys, the thing is, they get fatigued because of the power output. They need that time to recharge and go again. A great example of this, let's say if I'm doing a vertical jump test on a basketball player. But here's what I'm going to ask that basketball player to do. I'm going to ask that basketball player to not rest in between those vertical jump attempts and do 10 in a row vertical jumps. What's going to happen to the measurement of those vertical jumps? What's it going to do? It's going to go from. Are they going to be able to produce the same amount of force on that 10th jump as they did on that first jump? No way. Because we're asking these explosive fibers that work in their prime for about 3 seconds. You guys, you can't do 10 vertical jumps in 3 seconds. We're asking you to have to use different fibers other than these that I'm wanting you to use. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of analogy here. All right, over here with these, I want you to think about the Energizer Bunny. What does the Energizer Bunny do? Go on and 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 on. Is the Energizer Bunny very efficient and effective? Yep, goes on and on and on and on and on. Now, when we think about anaerobic, this could be an activity that could almost go up to 2 minutes long. Okay, so this is like my 800-meter runner. Okay, what kind of people are you? When you think about force production in its purest form, is this 800-meter runner delivering more force than my high jumper? No. They're using different muscle fibers. They're using the muscle fibers. These are more of a type 2A fiber that are made to work at a higher intensity for a little bit longer duration. Okay, So type 1 fibers, example I want you to think about, Energizer Bunny. Type 2A fibers, I want you to think about this as a machine gun. Is a machine gun still powerful? Yes or yes? Yes. But what can it do? Rapid fire at high force. Until it runs out of energy. And then what do you have to do to that gun? You have to reload. Okay. Now, I want you to think about 2X that create this giant explosion like a cannon. How much force does a cannon explosion deliver? A lot. You're about to sink an entire ship with it. Hello. But my question is, how long does it then take to reload that cannon?
Wow.
You got to put that no ball in and plunge it and pour the explosive in. Okay? So these are the ways our different energy systems work. So the biggest question that I have is, if this is what we know about science, how many of you that were ever engaged in a sport over here were ever made to do an activity like running as punishment? Raise your hand if that was ever you. That's messed up. Here's what we know. If I take my basketball player and they played the worst game of their life and they had an attitude problem so all of a sudden I took this basketball team and I'm like, you're running to JC Park, you're going around JC Park, and you're coming back. Okay? You guys, that's about 0.7, 0.7, 0.7. 0.7 times 3 is 2.1. That's a basketball player moving in a straight vertical line for 2.1 miles. Which energy system am I working in? I'm working over here. Do I want my basketball player to become a more efficient aerobic athlete? No. So I'm actually asking this basketball player to have a lower or a less ability to be explosive. I'm asking a cannon to be a bunny. Real fierce, huh? But yet we've done that. This is where, do you remember at the beginning of this chapter we talked about the strength and conditioning professional has to know how the mechanics of the human body work? But now, let's flip that coin. Let's say that I am a coach of Energizer Bunnies. Kind of funny when you think about it. Okay? One of the things that I do is I have coached probably 100 people or so to these life events, half marathons, full marathons. I tend to be, this is my genetic makeup, I think I'm probably a 60-40 is what I really think I am. I'm more efficient over here. But what we know is, if I take an Energizer Bunny athlete and I only train them over here through incredibly high volume, they're not really getting faster. It's going to be the hardest but easiest question I've ever asked you, so prepare. What's the only way to run faster?
Run slower. No.
Run faster. The only way to run faster is to run faster. The only way to run faster is to run faster. I know this is bucking a little bit of the system that might be in play. Remember, team player. So for example, if I'm starting to train an athlete, let's say their goal is a half marathon at an 8-minute mile pace. Until they can do 1 mile at an 8-minute mile pace, they don't need to be doing 5 miles at a 12-minute mile pace. I'm going out of the camera screen. okay? That's not making them faster. Those are junk miles, which junk miles thrash your immune system, which means therefore you end up getting sick. There is something to building the mental end of volume training, but the physiological end, old training protocols are not really better anymore. The only way to run faster is to run faster. So here's the thing. What if I take my athlete and I'm only running them 2 or 3 times a week, which old school aerobic people think you got to do aerobics 7 days a week. Okay? I'm going to take this athlete 3 days a week and we're going to work over here, but we're not going to work slower. What are we going to do? Work faster. Okay? Then I'm going to take my aerobic athlete and I'm going to tap in to this 40% or whatever of these type 2 fibers. Because what do these type 2 fibers make me? More explosive, more powerful. At least I'm in the gun range instead of out in the field. I'm kind of beating up the bunnies. I really don't mean to beat up bunnies. It's just a good analogy to think of.